I'm going to be reviewing a few new hard baits by Yo-Zuri, but before I do, I want to kind of talk about how I got to the point where I'm actually trying out these new lures. Last year I picked up some of these Yo-Zuri crystal minnows, small hard bait. They came in some colors that looked like they'd be stuffed like an anchovy or a sardine that would work for calico bass. Hooking myself here. This hook's very sharp, by the way. And I actually stumbled onto this color, which has been my favorite color locally and at Catalina during the winter. I caught a lot of big bass, and I'm going to put a picture up here when I got. And these baits are great for fishing light line. I've got a Abu Revo ALX here with 15-pound fluorocarbon line, all fluorocarbon line, no specter below it. A light rain shadow rod. I don't remember. I've had this rod for like 10 years. It's a real light action graphite rod, and when fishing these smaller lures, I've always used straight fluorocarbon line because I think it imparts a better action onto the smaller baits. After I'd had some success with this, I was talking to my editor, and he was saying that Yo-Zuri had some new baits that they were looking for someone to review, and I couldn't wait to try them out. So I asked them to send me the Hydro Minnow. It's a long cast bait, comes in a 150 size and a 170 size. They sent me the Hydro Pencil, which is a similar bait. And I'll talk a little more about this color. And then also a popper, which I have yet to use. But these hard baits, starting with the 150 size. Now, this is a color called Bone, which may not seem like a natural color for saltwater fishing. This is a really good low light color as far as hard baits go. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but fish do seem to like it. I have this rigged with call it an egg snap. A Decoy makes them. It's a size 5 egg snap. I use this in all my bigger hard baits that I rig with heavier fluorocarbon. This is a 40-pound to 65-pound spectra. So on these, I think that with the stiffer fluorocarbon, having this extra joint in here makes these baits swim a lot more loosely than they would without that. This 150 size bait, it also comes in a 170 size bait. What you can see here, a little bit bulkier, a little bit bigger bait. I don't know how good that'll show up in the video. Anyway, this size bait, 150 size, great bass bait. Been fishing these at Clemente a lot lately. 40-pound fluorocarbon leader, 65-pound braid. I've got an old Revo Toro NACL, which is basically a 300 size bait caster, rigged on a Rain Shadow Revelation double XH 8-foot graphite rod. It's double XH is by freshwater bass standards, and saltwater it's kind of a medium to heavy action hard bait rod. I'm going to talk about all the tackle first here, and then I'm going to go into some technique specific stuff. For the bigger baits, and that would all, sorry to backtrack, but that rod will also fish these hydro pencils when you're fishing them for calico bass. If you're going into something bigger, like the 170 size Hydro Minnow, you're going to want to step up to a heavier rod and reel combination. I have this one rigged for offshore fishing. This is a same decoy snap. I've got 60-pound leader. I've got 65-pound braid. I've upgraded to a Revo Toro Beast 50, and I have a 9-foot. This is a Rain Shadow Judge 810 ml, which is rated 20 to 40-pound mono, but you can fish a lot heavier braid. Now that rod can also fish this hydro pencil if you're casting at a tuna or things like that. This really mimics an anchovy well. And a few months ago, when those tuna were keyed on anchovies, I hooked one on this bait. Had a little tackle malfunction, so I ended up not catching it, but this worked really good. Regardless of which of these baits you're fishing, there's a presentation, regardless of the size anyway, there's a set type of presentation that will work across the board, whether you're fishing for bass or yellowtail, tuna, caught dorado on them. And it varies kind of by what you're trying to show with your bait presentation. Starting off with a smaller one here, it's hard to, I'm going to have to grab another rod to show you the actual retrieve, but this bait is something that I'm trying to mimic a fleeing bait fish with in and around kelp and boiler rocks. So I don't have anything tied on here, but I can show you the handle. A lot of the freshwater guys you'll see fishing hard baits will be doing that hard wrist snapping action as they are winding their baits. On these smaller baits, at times you can do that in combination twitch and wind, but more often than not you can just do a very erratic stop and go retrieve, and you can dial it into what the fish are reacting to on that day. So I'll start with 2 or 3 turns to the handle, pause, 1 turn, pause, 2 or 3 pause, and you'll kind of get a feel. You can watch the bait, how it's swimming, how the fish are reacting to it. If they're just following it, you might want to try and speed it up a little bit, slow it down. You might want to throw a rod twitch in there now and then to really jerk the bait to the side and then pause it. These are ways to fish all these baits, but the smaller the bait, the more erratic the movement gets. As the baits get bigger, you want to do more of an understated retrieve. So on the 170 size, I would fish this a lot the same way. I'd make a bomb along cast out, and well, I gotta do it with another rod again. Sorry. I would do a less erratic retrieve, maybe just a variation in speed of wind with a few pauses now and then. You just want it to swim erratically, and you can watch the bait again. You need to see if the bait's just coming back and wobbling. That's not good. You want to jerk it around and stuff, so you can kind of speed it up, slow it down, erratic retrieve, and that, again, the fish will tell you what they want. When you get a bite, just do it again. In a situation where you're fishing one of these hydro pencils for bass, you're going to want to walk the dog with it, and tuna and anything else for the most part. And that's going to mean casting it out, and then the bait floats on the surface. So you're going to want to pick up your slack, and then you want to twitch the rod down and retrieve your slack. And the bait should do this motion. And if it's not doing that motion, you need to work on your twitch. You don't need to twitch your rod one way or the other. If you just twitch it down, the bait should slide to one side, and then next time you pull it, it should slide to the other side. And as long as your bait is walking like that, whatever speed you need to do to get to that, that's what's going to get the bites. And these are the ones that the bass are going to blow out of the water, or the tuna are just going to destroy if it's calm. In other situations, with this bait, or with the bigger hard bait, let me start off with the hard bait while fishing offshore with the hydro minnow. Again, this is also something you could use for bass fishing if they're keyed on bigger baits, or if you're catching too many small ones on the smaller baits. But this is a great bait to use offshore fishing as well. We caught Dorado on it so far. We hooked a 200-pound tuna on it a couple days ago, and I'll show you a video of that in a second. But basically, there's 2 retrieves you're going to want to do offshore fishing. The first is similar to the bass one, which is going to be the pause, wind, pause. And that bigger bait will swim straighter even more than the size down. So the 170, you want to slow it down and really watch the bait, because if you wind it too fast, it's just going to run real tight, and that's not going to be appealing to the fish. If you're offshore, that retrieve can work if you speed it up a little bit. If you're fishing for fish that are not relating to a ball of bait, like a Dorado on a patty or a yellowtail swimming around, you want to fish it like that. If there are fish that are related to bait fish other than what you're throwing, like the bluefin tuna we had recently, you want to do more of a jerking retrieve like you would do with a popper. And I'm going to show you a video of what that looks like right here. Jimmy is going to cast the Yo-Zuri hydro minnow on these tuna up here. So stay up for a minute. They're still there, snorkeling around. Go ahead, fire it in, Cap. It's got to do like a jerking retrieve. Oh, there, I think you're bit.
Missed it.
You missed it? That one didn't. There you go, buddy.
They like it.
Yeah, that hydro minnow, that's a great bait.
Oh, sounds like it.
Yeah, how big is that fish?
That one was a little larger than I was expecting.
You
choked it.
Oh, boy.
Oh, this is much more forgiving.
Yeah. Now, the mistake that a lot of people make when fishing these types of hard baits for game fish like tuna or yellowtail or whatever is, if there are fish up feeding an area, you want to keep that bait in the area where the fish are feeding as long as you can. A lot of guys are like, well, I've got a popper. You know, like if you were to tie this on, you do a big sweep and you pop it and you wind and you pop it and you wind. And that area of biting fish might be 20 feet in diameter, and your cast is probably 150 or 200 feet, you're only going to be in the game for a small part of your cast. So you're better off just reducing the size of your twitch and the timing of it. So you're only moving that bait 4 or 5 inches, maybe just a little short twitch. Hard bait, popper, same thing with the hydro pencil. That you can pull it down, it'll dive down and it'll float back up, and that's an appealing thing as well. So if you got that, you can, instead of trying to walk the dog with it, if it's rough, you can either skip it on the surface, keep your rod high, just chatter it along, or you can sweep your rod down and you'll pull that bait under and it'll float back up. Pull it down, float back up. Either way, you get more time in the zone and a better chance of getting a bite. What I really like about these hydro minnows and the pencil, they both cast really well. The hydro pencil only weighs about an ounce, but put on this rod with the Revo Toro Beast and a 9-foot rod, I can cast this as far as most people can cast a service iron, which is a pretty remarkable thing with a bait that light. These hydro minnows, they have I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically they have some weights in here that shift to the back of the bait when you cast, which makes the bait stern heavy as it's going through the air. And a lot of the hard baits you'll find that aren't designed for saltwater use, when you cast them really hard, they'll tend to flip and flop and flutter in the air. These things, all the weight transfer system, there you go, goes to the back of the bait, causing it to be back heavy, which keeps it going straight. And as you saw in the video of Decker casting on that bluefin, he was making a really long cast of that bait, which you wouldn't necessarily be able to do with another hard bait. So I think that's about it. These are really heavy duty baits you can pull pretty hard on. I haven't had any problems with them. That 200-pound tuna that Decker hooked ended up breaking the line instead of the bait coming apart, but give them a shot.